What I'm wanting is more or less a checklist for a beginner following one of your plans for the first time to get the most out of it. Also, I want to have a goal to work towards, and right now my goal is not to get dropped at my NICA practices. Those kids are fast. I understand that. I think that's a good goal, but I want to know when setting goals for cycling, how should a beginner pick a target to shoot for? So we're going to cover the goals part later here, just so you know when you're listening to this. But it says, I will be subscribing again to TrainerRoad in hopes of getting faster in the off season. I would love to update you with my progress. Point number 1, Ben, don't just get faster in your off season, get faster year round. That's one big thing, kind of like strength training and everything else. Like I think a lot of people look at, they train with structure when it's off time. Yeah. And I mean, it's probably really hard, Amber, like when you get into like pro racing, like to fit in the training with the travel and with the racing and everything else.
Yeah. Then becomes almost a race to recover the best.
Yeah. That's your training is just recovering better than anybody else. Right. But for the majority of us, even with really busy schedules and everything else that we have, we should flip that switch of thinking of structure as being like our off season thing. And then once we get into the season, we just kind of let it be what it is. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, then performance always drops and we're always chasing, better performance. So that's just point number 1, but we built up a checklist of sorts. These aren't necessities. These aren't like, if you don't do this, you will not succeed, but these are suggestions that we would give, like you said, for anybody, whether it's your first time, honestly, or not going through this, how to get the most out of the training that you're
Some
doing.
of these sound like the basics, but man, the basics are the foundation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you don't do these, everything becomes a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, people get really excited about marginal gains, but
yeah.
you can also make just really big gains.
Yeah, exactly.
By doing the simple
By
things.
just doing the basics.
You wax your chain, but you're sleeping 5 hours a night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Great example.
Exactly.
It's like, you could probably improve your sleeps.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
who wants
Right.
to take this?
I don't know.
We can all chime in.
Yeah. Nate, actually, do you want to start off on the first one?
Sleep at least 8 hours a night. Maybe more. How much did you sleep when you were riding pro?
As much as possible.
Like was 8
8 to 10.
Yeah, 8 to 10
hours.
I hear that a lot
could.
from pros is 8 to 10.
And napping. Napping is awesome if you have the time for it.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on prioritizing sleep above pretty much everything.
So we're keeping this little checklist focused on performance, right? Mm-hmm. And this will certainly help performance. But in terms of something that just helps your overall well-being, kind of stepping outside of this, the sleep thing is huge.
Yeah, and you're going to correct a lot of things afterward that aren't going to benefit or respond the same way they would if you would correct your sleep first. Or at least improve your sleep habits.
Motivation and discipline increases with sleep.
Everything does.
When you have those 5 hour nights,
everything improves, I should say.
And then there's that McDonald's breakfast. You're like, I just need it today, right?
Yeah.
Something like that, or something that's unhealthy. Where when you sleep, like even getting stuff done at work, which is very important here. Mm-hmm. So it's sleep.
Yeah, 100%. It's something really, side note on this really quick. When I went to go see Jade Ashari in Bend to work on my knee, I think he's at Rebound Physical Therapy. A lot of people ask where that is. That's where it is. He, but that's not sponsored, by the way. I paid a lot of money for that. So,
very not free.
Very not free. But that was actually one of the first questions he asked me. It was like, how much sleep do you regularly get? And we were just trying to approach a knee issue, right? Mm-hmm. But just to further prove the point that it ties into all things.
Impacts recovery.
Oh, a ton.
Healing.
For sure.
Decision making.
Mm-hmm. On the nutrition side of things, man, that's just a minefield of personal opinion out there. And also it's tough in terms, there's a lot of scientific things, but a lot of perhaps kind of assumptions that have been stretched far based off of that. It's a minefield, but some safe principles that you can probably focus on.
Semi-safe.
Focus on whole foods. What do we mean by that, Nate?
Foods that aren't processed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or minimally processed. So if you cook if you roast your broccoli, probably okay. Or you roast your potato, you can eat raw potatoes. Mm-hmm. But if your potatoes are made into some kind of fried cracker that's with everything stripped out, or your rice is stripped of everything, that's processed. So try to stay away from that.
Mm-hmm. Reduce deep fried foods. I think that's a fair thing that it'll help, right?
If anyone ever, I'm going to say this out here, free year subscription to TrainerRoad if you ever get a picture of Chad eating fried food. And you can send it to me.
Whoa, that's a big bounty.
Deep fried food.
Chad's going to have paparazzi.
Deep fried, yeah.
You can have
sauteed scallops in a pan. That's not, I'm counting. I'm French fries.
Deep fried. Popeyes.
Yep.
Everything
at Popeyes. Yeah. Almost.
I want to live in a world where Chad's trips to Whole Foods are being captured by paparazzi.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And then reducing sweets.
Yep. You don't need to eliminate
It's
them.
an easy one.
Sure.
Yeah. Some
Right.
dark chocolate. I think both of you two bros, are you a big dark chocolate fan?
I love
Amber?
chocolate.
Yeah, I don't even know. I would just say refined sugars,
Yeah.
less than sweets.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't rank dark chocolate in there,
Off the
especially if the
bike.
cacao's high.
Because
Yeah.
Sugar helps
no,
on the bike.
On the bike. This is a whole different conversation on the bike.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just in moderation, it's fine. I think some people
absolutely.
can
All
go
these things in moderation.
crazy. Even if it's high cacao, you can eat 4, 5, 6 bars a day because
Sure.
some of it's really good.
Yes. And then reducing alcohol, I think it's fair to say also that's not going to do you benefits.
Yeah, and we're trying to be realistic here because, I mean, normally we'd want to say eliminate fried foods, eliminate sweets, eliminate alcohol. But realistically, we're not asking you to aim quite that high.
Sure.
Right. You need to make sustainable changes. And,
Yep.
and going cold turkey on a lot of this stuff is just, it's too much to ask of anybody.
And if you are going to eliminate any of those things, make it an incremental process. It happens over time.
On our product management off seat, Amber said I could drink 2 bottles of wine. Was it 2 bottles of wine?
Yeah. It was definitely 2 bottles
How
of
much
wine.
was it?
In one sitting,
No, she said.
she just wanted you to pass out.
She just said that.
I talked to a nutritionist at one point and asked about alcohol. And apparently, according to this nutritionist, the research at the time said that up to 2 drinks in a day is not going to adversely affect your training. I know.
Anecdotally,
I don't
Where the
advocate
2
that
bottles come from?
I was
specifically.
just joking. Anecdotally, too, didn't you see some high professionals? You don't have to name names, but high-level pros having a drink a night?
World champions.
Yeah, world champions.
Yeah.
I think on this, it's probably not improving I know it's not improving your performance, but there is the idea of like, especially if it's before sleep, so it's not impacting your sleep, that relaxing a little bit like makes it easier then to reset and go hard later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys all, yeah,
Well,
right?
that, and
Fully
I
agree,
think
yeah.
I think also in some of these cases, going back to the idea of sustainability, the stress of avoiding something, or the the guilt and the self-loathing that comes with eating something that you think you shouldn't eat. It's the stress and the guilt that get you probably worse than whatever it was that you ate.
Right.
So
100%.
The raised cortisol. on
exactly.
that.
So just the relaxing isn't just a result of the alcohol, but also just being a little bit relaxed with the restrictions that you're placing on yourself.
And you have to be okay breaking that restriction, or else sometimes you break it and then you're stressed about it the whole time.
Yeah.
And that makes it
That
double
makes
That's
it
worse.
actually
so
more
much
damaging
worse.
than the thing
Yeah.
that you took in.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's just comforting to hear that some people at the highest level don't have to be these perfect
They're
people
not.
on nutrition and can still perform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, it's true. We're all humans.
Absolutely. And just to hit home one more point on this, like Chad, you pointed out, we didn't say eliminate, we said reduce,
Yeah.
right?
Reductions, yeah.
So-
anything that moves you in the right direction.
And start with what's easiest for you to reduce. Like start there, because then you start getting those good wins and it's motivating, and don't jump
Momentum.
in with the hardest thing
Yeah.
off the bat.
Did you have a bad New Year's Eve with old fashions?
No, I think I've got a bit of a head cold, so I didn't drink all that much.
Okay.
Yeah. Next one. This is one that can certainly help. We're going to get into some low-hanging fruit in a bit too, but this is one: fuel 3 to 4 hours, and really you'll find your own window. You'll probably find like an ideal point. For me, it's actually closer to like 2.5. I've found, depending on the meal, but like fuel 3 to 4 hours before your workout, if possible, with something that's like a carb-centric meal. In other words, give yourself some fuel. And something that you mentioned, Amber, that's super important is don't diet on the bike.
Yeah.
Because that's the temptation, especially like if you're starting in this case. And Ben, it looks like you want to shift body composition too,
Right.
Right. So there's a huge temptation to just basically do the work and starve yourself and try to fast track your way toward wherever you want to be. But if you're looking on tips, like a checklist tip of basically something that will help you complete the plan and move through it, this is definitely something that will help it. For sure.
Before, during, and after your training on the bike, you want to really be fueling with carbohydrate. And then the rest of the day, that's where, other meals off the bike, that's where you really want to focus on nutrient density. And if you feel like you need to create a calorie deficit in the day, don't create that deficit by just riding your bike and not eating anything. It's tempting to do that because you're out of reach of the fridge. It seems easier, but what then happens is you're not going to get the performance adaptations that you're chasing, or at least not as quickly. And sometimes it just makes you ravenous the rest of the day. It could put you in a bad mood. But fueling the performance will give you a really good training session, which will build over time into great performances on the bike and the goals that you might be chasing. And then, overall mood is better, and Yeah.
You're less likely to, I think, than afterwards to binge. I've
Yeah,
done that before.
yes.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Where you get, it's the same thing with regular diets, which we might talk about, but you reduce your calories so much, and then you're nailing it for like
Overly
2
hungry.
weeks, and then you do 3 Popeye sandwiches in a row, and then it's like you're off it,
Who would
right?
do that?
And then you start that, and it just is like a little like snowball, and it gets worse and worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we mentioned fueling 3 to 4 hours before, which obviously isn't realistic if you're working out in the morning. So just recognize that what you're eating for dinner is going to fuel tomorrow's workout.
And then making sure you're taking in something on the bike while you're training.
For sure. There's an element, so that breeds a lot of discipline. Number one, because it's harder to eat on the bike. And you have to train yourself to do that, even just the habit portion of it, because you're focusing on riding on the bike and you don't think about it. Then number two, training your gut to be able to handle it. Then number three, outside of that, if you create that habit of discipline when you're riding on the bike and doing that, and then you control the outside of that when you're talking about your diet, and that's where you start to focus on nutrient density, whole foods, everything else. That breeds a lot of discipline, and we've talked about consistency being, which is one of the things that you mentioned here already, Ben, in this case. But consistency is like a common trait that we see with people that are getting faster. Discipline falls directly in line with that. If you're
It's
not
consistency with everything too. It's not just consistency across workouts. It's consistency with your sleep habits, your nutrition. I mean, everything that impacts your performance.
Yeah, so even though that seems like it's like nutrition, and that's like kind of we're setting it over here, it absolutely breeds the same discipline and those good habits that'll help in every aspect of your training. So, and it's probably one of the hardest ones to do, right? In terms of controlling the eating habits and the binging and everything else that people want to do.
binging, yes.
For sure, right? Like that's hard. Yeah,
Not even just it's hard to eat. I'm like,
No.
nope.
Nate has no problem with that.
Most people have no problem eating.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. So it's a good point to work on for sure. All right. So
Let's have Chad say this next one.
this is huge. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I'm just going to read it. Nail your low volume plan before you move to mid volume. So it's important that before you progress the challenge, you're undertaking the first challenge or accomplishing the first challenge to its fullest extent.
Oh yeah.
That's it. So we get a lot of people who are so eager to, I need to be faster. I got this faster on the low volume plan. They just assume the mid volume plan is the next logical step. And to some extent that's true, but a lot of cases there's improvements still to be had in the low volume plan. And that low volume plan is probably still working for them. I mean, in a lot of other ways that they don't recognize beyond performance. Maybe that's all their schedule can accommodate. Maybe that's all their rate of recovery will accommodate, things along those lines.
There is so many people. I just saw somebody in the forum. They're new to TrainerRoad. Okay, I'm going to do sweet spot base high volume 1, sweet spot high volume 2. Like, if you've never done indoor structure training, it is a whole different world compared to outdoor riding. Even if you ride a whole bunch outdoors, just try one block on low volume, see how you do, then go to mid volume and see your compliance.
Totally.
And then when you start missing things, back it off rather than. I personally think when you start to I saw another YouTube video on this, and the person missed a whole bunch of workouts and stopped them short. Still had performance improvements, but I would say before you start lowering every workout, where you every day you're just lowering it and ending every workout early, switch to a lower volume like mid volume or low volume. Get a recovery day and then hit your intervals on those other days.
Agreed. Completely. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a common tendency, if you're new to it, to look at your current volume, and you alluded to this, but just to be very explicit with it, look at your current volume, look at the training plans, and in many cases, a lot of people are well, then I should follow a high volume plan. But it's important to remember this is purely structured time.
Yeah, they're looking at
a different experience.
Probably exclusively hours, not necessarily the composition of the training. So they're maybe riding 8 hours a week, but they're just kind of noodling, doing a bit of tempo, riding, coasting the downhills, maybe even coasting some of the regular riding. And that's very different from what you'll encounter when you train indoors.
And you're probably not doing threshold for 20 minutes.
And that's the other thing, the intensity and the quantity of the quality.
Chances are you have some sort of bias in terms of what you see. If you were to actually have a full report on how much was structured in the ride that you did, of course, the structured portion sticks out in our mind. But when we kind of let all the other stuff melt away and we don't think about it, but when you look back, it compromises, or it composes a much smaller portion of our training time than we think if you're just riding outside.
Yeah, and a common giveaway, and this is by no means a criticism, but is the first thing I get from a rider is I put in this many miles per week, or I did this many miles last year.
Yeah,
it's almost meaningless. It tells me you've been on the bike a lot, but I don't know what happened on the bike.
Yeah, true. That's so true. Also, I think people think you do a drop ride and it feels hard. So therefore, you think then, okay, I can jump into these 2-hour workouts because I do these 2-hour drop rides, right? And it's not, it's totally different. And there's a lot of, have you guys ever seen a power file after you do like a drop ride? And it really wasn't like the best workout. It was hard, but it wasn't the best workout. It happens in races too, rather than, I think if you probably did a lot of the TrainerRoad workouts, a VO2 max or a threshold workout over-unders, you'd have a better performance increase next time than right. Although in the drop ride, there's all the tactics and handling.
There's absolutely a place for that.
There's totally benefit,
for
yes.
sure.
I'm just saying that compared to like over-unders, probably get more threshold rating.
It's not one-to-one. They don't serve the same purpose.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Amber, you were going to say something about focus, I think.
Oh yeah, I think to your point, Nate, like when you're in a group ride, your focus is very different than what it is if you're on a trainer and you're doing an indoor workout. I mean, like in a group ride, even or just going out and riding by yourself. I mean, depending on what you're doing. I'll take the group ride as the example. Like you're touching on all of the systems. Like you're touching on threshold, you're touching on aerobic systems, you're touching on anaerobic, you're touching on VO2, but you're not necessarily focusing in on any one of those. And then when you're really focused on a specific system and a specific interval, maintaining that focus for even just 45 minutes to an hour on the trainer, you won't believe the difference in that between just going out and noodling for a couple hours, even 3 hours on the bike. It's a very different beast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's also worth saying that now that you can do TrainerRoad workouts outside or inside, like yesterday I did Carter, which is like 45 minutes of like zone 2 basically, right? Is what was flipped it outside and went and did it outside yesterday. And it's still a very different experience. It's not riding out, it's structured workout and structure is different. So, recapping, definitely start low and nail that with 100% precision, just like you would like in a video game or something else, you know what I mean? And then step up.
And you think that like, oh, I'm leaving so many watts on the table for the season, but think of it like a 4 or 5 or 6 month thing, rather than because you start too high, maybe you get through the first one, and the second one you start to like fail, then you burn out, and then you stop structured training,
and then the season starts,
and then, exactly, and then you drop off. And I see this over and over and over again. And I just want to tell people, if you would have been low volume the whole time, and then like we said, like add rides on top of that, and then take them away once you get too tired, that's a much better approach. Or whatever volume it is, just start there and then add to that, rather than jumping up and then taking them away and then burning out and crashing.
I think there's something to be said on motivation there too. When you're really nailing things, you feel great about yourself. And when you start to really fall short of what the plan was on the day, it can really affect you psychologically, affect your confidence, affect your motivation. So, I mean, really just, nail the basics.
Yeah, it's hugely important. We're going to talk about motivation later too. And
For sure.
It dovetails off that really well.
Next one, this is something that I see every year around wintertime, cooling. We've mentioned this plenty of times. The Lasco Performance Series fans are the ones that we have and we use.
They should send us checks.
They totally should.
Some free fans.
The Wahoo fan too is a good option to have, because it's similar in terms of that style fan, but it's oriented like a portrait rather than landscape, which we're a portrait shape on the bike, not a landscape shape.
Makes sense.
So it makes sense for sure. But the point is, get a fan that's really productive, and maybe not just one fan. If you can, like if you go onto Nate's Instagram, you can see a post that he did where he was like, you were showing off your position that you want to have on your bike. And some of the comments were like, holy cow, you have so many fans. I think you have 2 or 3, right?
I have 2.
2, yeah.
But
and making sure that you have adequate cooling goes so far to helping you. And I see riders every year, they go onto the trainer, right? They jump onto the trainer. They're usually like the sort of rider that's like, I never ride inside. And there's some sort of like pride associated with that, right? And they ride inside and they don't ride with the fan, and it's miserable. And it's like, yeah, well, of course it's miserable.
There's no airflow.
There's no airflow at all.
Yeah.
And we don't realize how much airflow, even on a hot, still day outside, how much airflow is there and how much evaporative
A good
cooling is
indication of
working.
how well you're cooling is the sweat that's amassing or not underneath you. I mean, if you got piles of sweat or literal puddles of sweat, you're saturated in it, your clothing's soaked, you're probably not cooling as well as you could.
No, and this will vary from person to person. But when I'm training, even doing a really hard workout, I don't have, like, my arms may start to glisten, something like that, but I do not have sweat dripping off of me when I'm using my fans.
it's all going to matter of like relative humidity.
Yeah,
so if you're in
for
Florida,
sure.
it's 100%.
Humidity,
but
your sweat rate.
Yeah. Your evaporative, how well the
Because
water
if it's 100% around you, it's going to be tough.
Exactly, to do it. But in general, you just, if if you're sweating a bunch and you put on a fan, you're not sweating as much, you're cooling more.
Yeah.
To that Lasco fan, I think it is worth 15 Walmart box fans. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I used to
Difference.
have, I think I've literally, I think in college, I took like every fan in like our big house that we had. There was like probably 6 of them, I had them all pointing at me. And it's not the same
not
as
as
one
good.
of the Lasco
No,
fans.
it's not. In fact, my bike classes back in the day, we had these little 8-inch, I can't remember the brand. I don't want
Tornado?
That might have been it.
I forget. I remember those though.
Yeah, they weren't strong enough, and I thought they were, and I thought they were concentrated enough, and then I upgraded to this particular fan. I was like, oh boy, I blew that.
Yeah.
That's a huge performance limiter. I mean, people got faster, but they could have gotten faster. I truly believe that.
Oh yeah, because these
I was in those classes.
these fans are made to push a huge amount of air volume across like a surface, right? Because they're made for like drying out flooded
floor.
basements or stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, and as a result, like you get a ton of airflow. So that's huge. Don't shortchange yourself on that. And there's discussing this a bit more. Yeah, there's a time and place to if you're getting ready to go race in Central America or something where it's super hot and humid and you've been doing workouts just in a cold environment and extremely, with really effective cooling, it'll come as a shock, right? So you can work that in, and we've talked about this plenty of times. If you search Ask a Cycling Coach heat adaptation, you can find like an episode where we talked almost exclusively about that, and we've just mentioned it plenty of other times. But there's the time and place to do that is to work it in strategically, not on your hard workouts. Because if you are cheating yourself on cooling, you're not able to work as hard. So you're capped, so to speak, if you can kind of visualize that. And if you're capped, you're not going to be making the sort of improvements that you really should be making with that sort of workout. And it's crazy how even seemingly easy workouts get so hard when you're not adequately cooled.
I did a Baxter in the shower, and I think my heart rate was like average like
Through the roof.
175 or something,
Yeah.
and it should by that time it was like 125 for the same workout.
Yeah.
It was insane. It was
So
I
hard.
could not finish it. Amber, did you ever do any heat training
Heat acclimation.
for?
Yeah, actually, Yukon has a heat acclimation lab. So I've done some, and when I was doing that, I was doing specifically just for the acclimation. So I'd go in and do, we would run continuous body temperature, and it would basically, you would have to ride pretty hard, ramp up your body temperature to a certain point, and then just hold it for like 30 minutes. And it's shocking. Like it did not take a lot of wattage. It did not.
time.
And then but it just wasted me. It's it's really helpful when you go and race in the heat later, but it's
Hard during.
it's really hard.
How did they measure your body temperature?
Got it.
I know where this is going.
Did you swallow something or not swallow?
There were
something?
two options. Yeah, you
Okay.
could swallow something or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that would be kind of cool.
How do you even ride a bike like that?
It happens. Yeah.
Well, that's what the runners would do.
Okay,
Is-
that
yeah,
makes more
and then
sense.
you can swallow something as well. So
yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing something with Matt Lieto doing that in Hawaii because they're trying to follow his
remember that too,
his
yeah.
core body temperature and to see how it would raise in Hawaii because he would have problems.
Yeah.
That is something kind of cool. We should.
Yeah, actually,
I think
it
something
is.
kind of cool and see. I'd
I
like
know
to
some
see-
people.
I know you do. That's what I'm.
Yeah, that'd be.
I want to know
Yeah.
that these are one-time use sensors.
Yeah.
But to save money, guys.
Oh,
Sorry. So I'd be interesting to see the difference too, like between with fans and without fans, like on the same kind of like aerobic ride and a hard ride. And then Jonathan, on your Instagram, you have been going into the sauna a lot afterwards, and to see. Like to track what your core or what your internal body temperature is, because that's what we're chasing, right?
Yeah.
Raising the internal
Raising
body
the
temperature.
core, yeah.
What that is while you're riding, and then when you get in the sauna, like does it like how fast does it dip, and then does it come up, and then how high are you in the sauna?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be
it's-
cool?
And how
Yeah,
that changes over
fascinating.
weeks
Yeah.
of training.
Yeah.
Or even like a 10-day acclimation protocol.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be awesome.
Ooh, okay.
Let's do it.
Can you, Amber? Can you ask people?
Oh yeah.
Please, a large quantity of those items, not a restricted quantity. But with that, it's interesting because perception, as we know, can always be, a liar, so to speak, right? Like we try, but when I get off the trainer after doing like a sweet spot workout and then I go into the sauna, it doesn't feel like my core body temperature raises a whole lot. Like I don't feel internally like I'm suddenly starting to cook. And this is like a hot sauna. I don't know if the temperature's right in that thing, but it's a hot sauna. So it's like, we're like 140 Fahrenheit is where it's at. And I don't feel like I'm cooking, but my body certainly starts sweating more. So this is like one of those things where if you're just trying to remove cooling and just kind of go by feel and hope that it's working out, it's tricky because I bet my core temperature isn't exactly the same, going from the bike over into that environment with having a fan on me. So once again, cool your workouts when you're focusing on making gains. That's important.
I bet it. I mean, you're doubling the temperature because it's probably 70 in the office.
Yeah.
And you're going to 140, unless it's wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
No, there's a difference with the type of
infrared.
Infrared, yeah.
But we can check that out later. But
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I definitely pour sweat in
It's
there.
crazy. Yeah. And I'm not an eager sweater, so to speak. And man, that changes things.
Can I do the next one?
Please, Nate.
Okay, entertainment. This is important. If you just set up TrainerRoad and just stare at it with nothing, you can do it, but these things make the RPE and the time fly by a lot more than not. So it depends on the type of ride you're doing. If you're doing aerobic or under, some people can do this with Sweet Spot. I can't. Chad's a different story. Listen a few podcasts back.
I don't think I'm that different, but I believe I just think
very
a lot of
special,
people.
Chad.
I like that idea, but I do think a lot of people can do what I do.
Okay. If you can do what Chad does, power to you. If you're brand new, maybe try this and then graduate to the Chad level. Because Chad's the high volume plan of entertainment.
It's like a PhD.
I don't even call it entertainment so much as distraction. Just anything that, I don't know, productive distraction. That's my term.
Okay, so if it's Sweet Spot and above, this is what I do. And again, where your line is could be different for you. And just play with it. Up-tempo music, that is important. I know for Chad it's not important. But
Depending on intensity, it is. If you have 2max and hard stuff,
and music
I
that you
need
like,
that motivation.
Music that one person likes is not necessarily music you like.
Totally.
It can actually destroy me in a session if I'm listening to death metal. I don't like death metal, and I've done some playlists where that will come in, and I'm like, oh, I hate it. Change.
My watts are broken.
Yeah, exactly. And then so have the music, and then if you want, I like to also have first person race footage that's muted on a separate screen or on the same screen if you're on desktop. So the ones that I like are race analysis videos. I'll watch Urine Pete's full videos. It's egotistical, but I've watched my Cat 5-2 finishes because watching my 17 minutes of my finishes.
It's just race
You
analysis.
get to pick yourself apart and
I don't like doing that, but I just I remember either when I did well or when I did bad, and the times that I did bad and I just barely lost, I'm like, you're not stopping on this interval.
Yeah.
No possible way. Cape Epic on YouTube, they have really super good footage of every stage of Cape Epic. They have a person on an e-bike with a camera in the peloton watching it. So you follow the pros as you go through.
Yeah.
And they have helicopter.
I think we've mentioned this before. I think it's the best race coverage of any bike event I've seen.
Yeah.
It's impressive. And it's not on some major network. It's just... Yeah.
And it's probably the least, it's not close to anything civilized, right?
Yeah, it's probably the most difficult.
Yeah.
It's amazing that they've figured out how to do it. Yeah.
NorCal Cycling.
Yes.
Awesome. And he just started a new channel that's NorCal Cycling full race videos that you can watch. He's putting up his full uncut. There's no commentary, but when that's 50 minutes, you can watch that for 50 minutes.
Nice.
And it's very nice. And he actually has good strategy, so it's good to watch him.
One thing to add to this really quick is that ours are organized into different playlists. So if you want to see the ones where we have critique and analysis, you can do that, but then we also have a full race video playlist just to make it easy, because that's one thing that's hard is if like Red Bull TV is famous for making it hard to find a lot of the cross-country mountain bike races, and it's a pain, and sometimes I just don't watch it because I don't want to go through the labyrinth of clicks, but in this case it's easy.
Cross races. I've thought of myself as
Matthew.
a few times.
Nice.
And they have great men and women's coverage on Flow Sports and NBC Sports Gold, and Red Bull doesn't do cross. Red Bull does cross country mountain bike. That was great coverage.
They do cross if you are outside of the United States. If you're inside and probably other countries, but I know inside the U.S. they're on there, but we can't see them. They're geofenced.
Okay, so that's what I personally like to do. And then on aerobic rides, watch TV or movies. I don't do any music. Just set up erg mode. Just finished season 2 of You. That was great. I think I watched most of it on the trainer. Super fun. Again, that's going to be whatever you like. But on those two, there's certain TV shows I can't watch on the trainer aerobically, and some I can. So just because you can't have one, try to get something that's more interesting. If it's really slow, Mr. Robot, there's too many pauses and long camera shots for me to be interested in it for 90 minutes to 2 hours. Any other entertainment things you guys can think of?
I've mentioned before the incentivizing yourself with the show. So right now we're starting from the beginning through the end of Game of Thrones. That's a lot of episodes, and they're all about an hour long.
It's a lot of training.
It is, but it's only for particular rides. So it's all our butter burners, which we're reading rides. So I'm struggling with that. I'm trying to decide how to make that work.
Do both at once, dude.
I don't think I can. That's
you have two eyes.
It's a little too dialogue intensive, and there's a lot of names, and it's actually kind of a hard story to follow unless you're paying attention. So,
have you not seen Game of Thrones before?
I have, but we watched it. We kind of half watched it. So, you only pick up so much, and you get to season 7, and it's like, I have no idea who that is, that sort of thing. Yeah. Either way, we wanted to watch it yesterday, and we were both a little too hungover, so we didn't get to watch because we couldn't get on the bike.
Yeah.
So it's solely when we're on the bike, which we really want to know what happens next, so it gets us on the bike.
Yeah, that's great incentive for it. I think it's key to once again stack the odds in your favor. This isn't just for beginners, and this is like one of the big things you can do with it. Like all of these things, just stack the odds in your behavior. And if you do decide that you want to take some of them out, like we talked about, there may be like a benefit to training with cognitive load and increasing that strategically to helping you in your racing. But if it's compromising your ability to complete your workouts, that's not doing you any favors. So like pad things first, right? Put the bumpers up if you're bowling, so to speak.
Sure.
Yep.
And then get it all down, and then you can start taking them down.
I feel like that's one of those marginal gains that adding 20 watts per FTP makes it way
You're going to be a faster cyclist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're consistent, right? Because if you dread getting on it, it's no good.
Yeah. For me, I pick usually the same stuff, but my threshold's probably a little bit lower with watching things. And like you said, and just reiterating this, everybody's going to be different, and you may have something that you really like to use, and you should use it if it works. Yeah. That's the point behind it. So whatever that may be. Okay, next one, and this is huge, and we're kind of spoiled here at the office for this in many regards, but eliminate and reduce all of the obstacles that would keep you from getting on the bike. So that's putting the bike on step back even further. That's even having the trainer set up, right? Or having the space to set up the trainer. And then having your bike set up on the trainer and everything else. And with through axles and adapters, there are plenty of things that could go wrong when you do that, right? So if it is possible to keep your bike on the trainer, it's huge. Kit is another big thing. If your kits are dirty and you just don't wash them right after you train, just put them in the wash and take care of that sort of thing. Then you get into a point where you end up either delaying because you have to wash a kit or find a new kit, or you reuse the kit and then saddle sores come around and it's just a bad mix. So
don't do that.
Have your kit ready. Bottles is another thing. Like if you're putting mix in there.
Even if it's not mix, if it's just water and ice, having those like prepped, and ice will last a long time in the fridge, having them prepped so you just walk down and grab them, it just eliminates an extra like couple minutes and it makes it easier to start. I actually like putting my kit on my bike with my socks, like right there. And it's almost like a transition.
I have it set up so all I have to do is walk downstairs. I don't have to grab anything. I just know if I go downstairs, everything I need to get me on the bike is right there and ready to go.
It's funny, like the work is like super important to do, right? Like the training, and we understand that. But when you add up 6 of these small little obstacles, it can completely throw off a training session, right?
Yeah.
So it's super important to have them in place.
Another thing I would say is sometimes I don't know what TV show to watch, and I fall in the trap where I might sit and I gotta look at it, and then I sit in my chair and I start typing, looking, cross-referencing Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. Do that during your warm-up. Like just when you just get on the bike, start pedaling, and then look around, and you get a lot less picky, and you're like, that's fine. I'll watch V-Wars, which isn't very good, but it's kind of dumb. Yeah, it's not good, right? It's not good. But I've done that. I'm just like, okay, I'll just watch this, and at least I get through my session.
Yeah. I mean, and if we're going to talk about like basics versus marginal gains, the most basic thing you can do is get on the bike. Right. So whatever, if there's any obstacles getting on the bike, prioritize those things, because just getting on the bike and pedaling that's where you're going to gain absolutely the most.
Yeah. For sure. There's something to be said too, that this is one of the reasons why I like the rollers. Just pair with my power meter. I don't have to worry about plugging things in, or I don't have to worry about anything like that. I genuinely just grab my bike and put it on. And it's a nice, easy thing, right? So if you have a setup and it's excessively complicated, look at ways to be able to minimize that. Another fan thing, sorry, this is kind of going back to cooling, but also on this, we have, and Tucker, we'll have to find the Amazon link for this, but it's like basically a small plug that you just put into the wall.
Cheap little remote.
Plug the fan into it, and super tiny little remote, but it's just an on-off switch.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that way you can keep your fan plugged in, and you don't have to worry about plugging that in every time, and then you don't have to worry about getting off the bike to turn it off and on.
Yeah.
Just have that little remote right in place.
I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine working out without them.
Yeah,
It's such
right?
a simple thing, and I'm completely dependent on it now.
$8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think I bought a Bluetooth power strip.
Yeah.
And so
There you
then,
go.
and the trainer and the fan and my computer are all plugged in on it. So I just hop on the bike,
Nice.
hit a couple buttons on my phone, and then everything turns on and I'm ready to go.
It's easy. And then the last thing that I would say on that too is having something like, once again, talking about having everything set up, having a desk is really helpful. I think most of us have that Wahoo desk. There are probably plenty of options. You could use a music stand, something else, but having something where everything is set up once
Yeah,
again.
I used a baker's rack for a while, a little rolling baker's rack.
Yep. Yeah.
I know somebody who uses a music stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're great.
Shortly after we moved into our house, we found this really awesome Craigslist warehouse sale. So we went and bought all these old school desks that we set up downstairs with the trainers, and then we got this giant industrial fan. So it's
Nice.
pretty awesome. So I mean, you don't even need to go buy new stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff that's available out there that just set up your own little system.
For sure.
Yeah.
Last one we can touch on here is caffeine. I feel like this is something where if you're taking in caffeine like habitually, that sort of thing, just normal, like you drink your coffee in the morning, drink it whenever. Recognizing, I guess, the effects of that on not only your training but also your sleep and just like the whole daily schedule, I think is an important point, right, Nate? We were kind of talking about this and how it affects your training and then sleep and everything else like that too.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it or you want me to do it?
I was just going to point out that it can get a little easy to lose sight of the fact that caffeine does impact your sleep. And you may think that I'm drinking caffeine at noon, but that's not a big deal. But if you're ingesting 500 milligrams of caffeine, half-life being what it is, you're still going to have quite a lot in your system if you're going to bed even at 9 o'clock that night.
And 500 would be
It's a big dose.
It's a big dose,
Yeah.
But for as far as training, it's a suitable dose. I
So
mean,
caffeine, lots of research on it. Generally safe unless you do really high doses, which can kill you. So
really
don't-
high.
Yeah, but don't do like powders and stuff like that because you can mess up the dose. So 1 to 2% increase in performance, I think, is pretty shown. It can also reduce RPE at the same level of performance. Caffeine was so effective that for a while it was banned in the Olympics at certain levels in your bloodstream. Then they took that away. Again, before noon. So if you're working out at 8 in the morning and you take some coffee or maybe even a caffeine pill, which probably isn't very good long term, but it's probably going to be out of your system depending on how much you have still. I talk about this at the big races like Leadville when I'm taking like 800 milligrams before a race. I'm a big person too, at 193 pounds or so.
Point.
And a half. At night, I'm still like, I can still feel it, right? Because that's a whole bunch of caffeine for my system
Oh, yeah.
to process. So
And
just
it
be
it doesn't
aware
just
of that.
disappear. It's got to dissipate. That takes some time.
And me not drinking coffee, when I take caffeine for races and gels or anything else like that, man, like it.
You get going?
Yes, and it's extremely hard to sleep though, and even so, like before my races or during my races, I usually take in those like 100 milligram Marten gels that they have, and I take those in, or 100 calories, I think is what the gel is, and I can't remember how much caffeine they have, but I usually take those in, and I'll take it like before the race, and then I'll take one throughout the race. And that has a profound effect on the next day. So if I have like a stage race or anything else like that, I really have to think about it. And for me personally, once again, you just have to find out how you're going to use something like this.
Yeah, and if you're doing a local crit in the afternoon or a twilight criterium or something and you're pounding the caffeine, don't plan on sleeping very well.
Yeah, it's not going to work well. And even like in a stage race, a lot of people, we always talk about prioritizing your races. I even have to like prioritize the caffeine intake for like the specific stage a lot of the time, because us amateurs usually race later in the day than the pros in stage races a lot of the time. So then, you get to a point where for a non-consequential portion of a stage race, you took a bunch of caffeine, then you sacrifice the next day's performance. So definitely something to figure out and kind of test. So I'm going to do a super quick recap of that. So first of all, sleep, get good sleep. 2, focus on whole foods and reduce the stuff that isn't necessary and probably isn't going to improve your performance when you're talking about nutrition.
Or your health, really.
Yeah, right. In terms of timing your food, make sure that you come into a workout with sufficient stores on board. Carb-centric meals are great before then and during when you're training on the bike and after. Then nail the low volume plan before you move up, and start low, and then you can ride as much as you want on top of that, and then just start working in more structure as you can. Cooling, make sure you cool yourself enough. Make sure you have the entertainment that's right for the sort of intensity you're doing and also what you enjoy. Eliminate obstacles that stop you from getting on the bike, and then figure out things like caffeine and other substances that you take in like that.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.
If you think I have better hair than Jonathan, give it a thumbs up. If not, leave a comment.
My hair is better than his.